So mindfulness, what is mindfulness? And how have I experienced mindfulness? Mindfulness is a term that has been very popular in the last, let's say, decade. Maybe it has also a little bit to do with, we have so much more in our heads. I think increasingly over the decades, already before, I guess, we were born, people were getting more in their heads and feel stressed, and then there are more therapists, it's also more, awareness practices, mindfulness trainings, mindfulness stress-based reduction, I think that's the word. That all helps with us to cope with our minds, but what does that mean? It can be very vague. Like our teachers, the founding of this monastery, Amravati Buddhist monastery, Ajahn Sumedho, likes to also make an example, like a cat. A cat has to be very mindful. If they're not mindful, it can't catch anything. He has to know really exactly what he's doing. You see the cat when he's hunting or looking at something, very slow, concentrated, focused, doesn't make any sound. It's sort of watch, let's say nature, other living beings, whether it's a mouse or any small creatures like birds. It has to be very mindful, otherwise can't do anything, or cannot hunt. So too, we can be mindful of different levels. Mindful of the step, right? Like when you take walk on an uneven ground, that might be mindful of your steps. So you see a step, there's a warning. Be mindful of the step. Okay, you see a step. You make sure that you do things like away with the body, like that you step down or up, that you don't knock yourself over or fall over. That needs a certain state of mind, calmness. Like you can see if there's like a stressful situation, you're running and you are running away from something and something is chasing you, and there's a sign saying be mindful of the step. You might not even see it, you're just crazily running out of panic. And that will be, you can also experience this very mindfully, but let's say for this example that you are not in a state of calmness and awareness, you're just panicking and you're just doing something. Your mind becomes very, very small, and the only thing you know is get away from here, and you run and you don't see the step, you fall over, you pick yourself up again and keep running, and that will be a state of mind that could be very not mindful. And the more mindful we are, basically, the more we can be more at ease with ourselves, and we can see what is happening around us and within us. So having a state of mind that's more mindful and aware of what's happening and remembering, you have more mindfulness, let's say, more mindfulness within one's life. And when that happens, when you go through life, through experiences, through occurrences, events that's happening to you, you have more choice in life. That you can always choose how you want to react and choose how you want to be, let's say. Like what often happens these days, like the more we practice this kind of mindfulness in our lives, where we slow down our lives, don't get sort of, the panic, when there's no need to be panic and hurried, can you just stay at ease? And that's practice, you have to keep reminding yourself. Mindfulness is not something much you can do about it. You just have to remind yourself to be, to be in the here and now. And that you catch yourself, that you don't get into this panic mode, on this side of distracted mode, that you don't really know what's happening. No. Be more at ease with the situation. The more you're in that state, the more you can able to see what's happening. Like if someone is shouting and running and getting frightened or shocked because you're so in your mind, or you're doing a game and you get shocked. You see actually, you can watch, you can see, this person's running. I don't know what is running. And there's another person chasing with a smile or whatever. They're just playing around, that's just a prank or something. Or you see someone running, and there's a dog chasing, with already some piece of cloth or like a jeans, in there. Then you have to sort of decide for yourself. You've got to run as well, And then you can choose to run. Whereas in the beginning, I said this was just a prank. You just observe it, and you can have a choice not to react. It's nothing fearful, but there's a dog coming. Oh, fear arises. Oh, there's something I have to run. Get up and run. And often in life, a lot of things like this happen. Like I mean, it's not everyone that's chasing. Not every time people are chasing you. At least, not, hopefully, not in your environment. But it is the feeling or the emotions that come up. The emotions of anxiousness or the emotions of fear, guilt. What's happening, or disappointment. That is, let's say, the dog that is coming, right? Want to chew you up. When that happens, you can see actually at the situation, is it something necessary that we have to follow this through? Be more at ease, aware, okay. Disappointment arises or anger arises. Okay. Is it something I have to be angry with? For instance, what a lot of actually people does naturally, like, when you have a kid, a 1-year-old or 2-year-old, let's say, a bit smaller, because, when they are bigger, you blame them easier. They don't know anything. They'll just grab something and pull the tablecloth and everything on the table will come down. And what do they know? They just see a thing and they just pull it, and then they are not able to understand yet there's something on the table there. So it all comes down. So can you be very angry at them, or are you a bit more concerned about them? Oh, is there something happening? You're a bit more concerned. But you will react completely different if an adult, or like someone who is what you would call like a teenager or whatever, they pull that. You will think like, yeah, they should know and not do that. Similarly, like with oneself, is that are you aware and mindful enough on what is happening? Or are you the child, the inner child, like the child, the 1-2-year-old, that things are happening and you just fall victim on it? You don't, like if you continue doing that, like pulling, like continue let's say the fear and anger, you end up in a situation you don't want to be, like everything's falling apart, etc. And then how do you react on yourself? Are you reacting on as a caring, are you okay? And you take care of the little kid. Or are you treating it immediately as an adult, like, you should not do that, why are you doing this, and you're always like that, etc., etc. So are you also in yourself doing that? And when we have more mindfulness, we will able to see these reactions, So one, it's anger or anxiety coming up. And if you have mindfulness, you can see, I react with a lot of anger against it, or anxiety, or guilt, or unhappiness. Or do you react with a lot of peace and kindness to yourself? So these are, in another video I explain about concentration practice and insight. It also has, of course, a strong relationship with each other, but a state of mind that is mindful, is more at ease, open, and see what is happening, and making choices how that works, how you sort of take this into to the next moment. Like this moment you're angry, what is your next moment? Also angry, or less angry, or very angry? Or are you start blaming someone else that is making you angry? Like what do you do with that? And does it lead to a place that you want to be? And did you have a choice? Or, by the time you wake up, sort of, it's like half an hour later and you are already punching someone in the face or something, or throwing things at people. Or have you quite mindfully experienced moment to moment? Okay, now I'm angry and this is what I want to react, but it doesn't seem reasonable because it's a 1-year-old. Or it also doesn't seem reasonable. It's like this person is 16-year-old, but maybe they were also stressed. Look at how are their mind states? Are you able to have a pause in there and see what is the occasion? What is the most appropriate way to respond to people rather than react? So people that have, I would say, that have more mindfulness are often responding to situations and trying to, they don't always respond in the correct way, but rather than to react, like this kind of reaction, like what I was talking about, being chased by a dog, run, and you see it, and you respond, I need to run. But if you don't have this responding and you react, you see people running, and you get fearful, and the first thing you do is also get up and run, but you don't really know what the situation is, you don't have time, and you don't have the capacity to see it. So that I would say how mindfulness has quite a big benefit to one's life, that you feel less enslaved by the reactions that we have in ourselves. So we have chances to respond to life in the way that we want, or more that we want. There are often situations you can't, that are, it's just like it is, but there's also a lot of situations where you can have more choice in life, that you feel less addicted also to your reactions or the way you are. Let's say, no, I am just like that. I'm a very angry person. No, there are ways, if you really look into it, with more mindfulness practices, which is related to samatha and vipassana meditation, that you have a much more, let's say, pleasant life. I mean, we still have our quirkiness and behaviors, but we are not entirely enslaved or victimized to that. So that's how I would say how mindfulness can really bring benefits to one's life here and now, and for anyone and at any age. Like when the younger you learn this, the more good habits you have practiced. It's a bit like eating, like when you start eating, that if you start liking eating crisps or something, or some other, or drinking cola, like sweetie drinks, not that it's bad in itself, but if you sort of like it, you might not like it again. You might like it again, and you like it again. You create a whole behavior and whole pattern that you will keep eating and drinking this stuff. And over time, eating too much of those too often is not nice. Similar, like your head. If you put your head with a lot of junk, let's say, junk thoughts and junk reactions, it becomes a habit. And each time it happens again, it's easier. It's easier to react angry. It's easier to react in a guilt way or blaming someone. But it's very hard to break that down. So if at any time younger or at any time now, better than tomorrow, you can sort of make effort to loosen that, to be calmer about it, to be at ease, and try to understand that this doesn't lead to a very nice space. One can bring more mindfulness in one's life, and then any future, let's say, experiences that you have will become nicer than before. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get angry. You become angry, but it lasts less longer. It's less intense. And you have more choices that maybe you can drop it more quicker. And these changes will sometimes not appear substantial, but over time, over years, you can see quite a big change. Similar to, those that really do some sports or play the games. It's not from one day to another that you really get it. You really have to cultivate and practice. And you can see over time that a year later, let's say, or 2 years later, or 5 years later, you can really see a big difference already. But if you don't do it now, it will never change in that way. It's very hard. So that's how I would say with how mindfulness will affect our lives and how it can be beneficial to us.